my soul felt incomplete doing it because it felt like I was hurting or had the potential to hurt somebody.
Right.
Whereas in our business, listen, we might not be curing cancer, but we're certainly helping people to live a better life.
Right.
If you do your job with integrity.
Well,
and we do.
What we do is we help people realize the American dream. To
Right.
me, there's nothing more important than your home.
I agree. I completely agree. And I think that that's what has kept me in this business, because I do feel a sense of goodness in what I do.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Glennda Baker, and welcome to this week's episode of Glennda's Guru. I've got to tell you, I'm so excited to have Ryani Williams in studio in LA with me today. Rayni, thank you so much for being here. I got to tell you, I didn't know too much about you personally before yesterday. I had done some research. Obviously, I'd heard about you because you're a celebrity real estate agent in LA, but I didn't really realize the magnitude of the powerhouse you are.
Oh, thank you.
Well, it is. I mean, it's the truth. When you talked about how many agents you have and your company, I was like, holy cow, I want to dig a little bit deeper on that. So for the people who may not know you, give us a little summary of who you are, how long have you been in the business, and where do you sell predominantly?
So I'm Ryani Williams. Thank you for that great intro. I own the Beverly Hills Estates. I opened the Beverly Hills Estates in 2020, right in the midst of the pandemic. Prior to that, I was with Hilton and Highland for 12 years. I've been in the business a total of 17 years. I got started right before the subprime, had a really great ride as a junior agent, learning all the facets right before the market really tanked. And then again, all the opportunities that come, especially the buying opportunities. I mostly focused on Beverly Hills, which becomes very, the air is so thin, as we say, between Beverly Hills, Bel Air, Hollywood Hills. All the great estates are sort of in this little 3 to 4 mile radius. So that's kind of how I got started. And then I really segued into Malibu. From Malibu, I got pulled, especially in the last 10 years, to Santa Barbara. We've done some great ranches and estates in Ojai. And then we go all the way east to Los Feliz. So we're all over.
Oh, my stars and stripes. Now, I didn't realize, yesterday, I didn't realize that you had a zillion agents that work for your company. So before we go there, talk to me a little bit about why did you get into real estate 17 years ago? I mean, you're just what was it? What was the trigger that said, I'm going to get into real estate?
So my family was from real estate. I'm Italian descent. My grandparents were immigrants that, my grandfather came, both sides of my family are Italian, my father and my mother. So my mother's side, he was a bricklayer because that was a trade that they did, back then. And he was, young when they immigrated and uneducated and had that skill set. Had a lot of children, like some, Italian families tend to do, and had a lot of sons. They all started building and became a great development firm. So I sort of grew up with that. And then the other side of my family was very deep in multifamily and commercial. So I saw it very clearly that it was a great way of life. And I watched the American dream unfold before my eyes as a little girl from these very poor immigrants on my mother's side that were able to establish really, truly the American dream. And also taking their real estate and creating convalescent homes. And it just was the most miraculous story that I was able to live. So I, of course, as a rebellious young 20-something-year-old, graduate college, and I want nothing to do with real estate, of course, because that's what I knew. And I wanted to be a journalist. So I went to Ohio State University. I graduated. I was 21 when I moved to Los Angeles. I came here with nothing other than the love of the city, which we'll get into when we talk about the geographics and all the wonderful things of Los Angeles. But as an East Coast girl, I had never smelled the flowers and felt the beautiful air and saw the beautiful people and, walked down Rodeo Drive. We don't have that, on the East Coast. So I was drawn to it. I moved here with nothing lined up, and I was writing. And I was writing, you get paid by the word, and, you're hustling and you're just kind of like freelancing, and I was really struggling. And then at 23, 24, I got into mortgages, and it was right before the subprime. But, I was a young woman in a male-dominated industry of mortgages and lending, and I was taught to sell this product. And this was before Dodd-Frank really put the hammer down on you have to disclose the points system. Right. Similar to what we're experiencing now in real estate. But so what happened was we could charge 3 points in the front, 3 points in the back, whatever. You could charge whatever you want.
Right.
And by the way, I didn't even know what I was selling. But
right.
I did have a conscience, thank God. And my conscience told me, this doesn't feel right. Because if I could pick up the phone and get a woman, an old woman or a young, whatever, an old man on the phone, and they would give me their social security number, I could get a social security number on the phone in like 2 minutes. These people, and then I would qualify them for a loan, and then I would tell them to do, and I'm like, what am I doing? What am I selling? I asked my manager, and he was like, it's a monthly adjustable, but it's never going to adjust, so don't worry about it.
Oh, my stars.
And I did it for a little while, and I was the only woman in the office, and I was quite successful. And then I was like, this is not right. And I remember my last day, I called the woman that I sold the loan to, the monthly adjustable, and I had convinced her to go to Aruba, take out some money from the house, go to Aruba, live her life. And I said, I want you to call and cancel this loan. And she said, oh, no, honey, I want to go to Aruba. And I said, no, if you were my grandmother, I want to tell you I can't cancel it, and I'm sorry that I sold it to you, and I don't feel good about it, and I want you to call and cancel. You promise me you will. And then I left. I left the office, and I went straight into real estate with a mom and pop's kind of Beverly Hills shop called Normand and Associates. A husband and wife team owned it. And I'm actually, funny enough, right now, as I was coming here to see you today, I'm doing a deal with Myra Normand, who was my mentor. Her husband, Saeed, was Branden's mentor when we started in the business in 2006.
That is so cool. I love how you realized what you were doing wasn't what you wanted to do or what you were meant to do.
It didn't feel right. It didn't feel like all the money in the world. My soul felt incomplete doing it because it felt like I was hurting or had the potential to hurt somebody.
Right.
Whereas in our business, listen, we might not be curing cancer, but we're certainly helping people to live a better life.
Right.
If you do your job with integrity.
Well,
and we do.
Yeah, and the people live their life. They live their dreams in the homes that we sell them.
Right.
They raise their families. They build generational wealth, legendary wealth sometimes based on the investments that we help them make.
That's right.
So I think real estate is very well aligned with what you saw growing up in your own family, because what we do is we help people realize the American dream. To me, there's nothing more important than your home.
I agree. I completely agree. And I think that that's what has kept me in this business, because I do feel a sense of goodness in what I do and helping. And it doesn't feel like such an empty feeling that I felt when I was in lending.
Do you remember your first deal?
Oh, of course.
What was it?
My first deal was on a street called Rising Glen, which is in the area of the bird streets. So it's the Hollywood Hills, and all of these streets are named after birds. Rising Glen, people always forget that it's a bird street, but it is. So it's like Rising Glen, Flicker, Tanager, Blue Jay Way. Blue Jay Way is a very famous street because of, it was in the song, the Beatles song. Anyway, so Rising Glen, I was sitting in open house for Myra Normand, who was the owner of the firm, and I would just bother people, and I would just, hey, can I sit your open house? What can I do? What can I do? I want to do this. I want to do. And if you don't have that attitude, it's like I see these agents. I'm like, they're never gonna make it. You have to want it so badly. I wanted it, And so anyway, I begged her to sit this open house. It was a $4.5 million house, and a woman walked in, and she said, I toured her around, and she said, "Okay, I like it. I live down the street, but I love this street, and I want the house, and I want you to represent me." And it turned out that she was a huge real estate attorney And so I got to represent her as the buyer. Of course, it wasn't my listing. So that was how I started out my business, would be sitting open houses.
So, ladies and gentlemen, listen to me now. How many people have told you that open houses are a waste of time? How many people have told you that nobody walks into a house and buys it? Like, that is the thing. Is you dispelled both of those myths off the bat. And what year is this?
This is 2006.
And so 2006, the house is $4.5 million. How much is that house worth today? Do you know?
It's a beautiful little Spanish. It was really charming. She redid it. I drive by it at least once a week. What's it worth now? 6? Keep in mind that was...
She bought it in the height of the market.
She bought it in the height of the market. We
Right.
got it for we were asking 4.5. She got it for 3.6, I believe. Yeah, it was 3.6, and there was a moment where it was probably worth 6.5, 7, and right now it's probably worth somewhere in the high 5s, maybe 6.
So think about it. So if you bought at the very height of the market, and people are like, they lost their shirts, the real estate recession, the real estate meltdown. Your first home that you sold, even now today, is worth more than when you sold it at the height of the market.
Right.
And so that's why I always say, as long as you never put yourself in a position to have to sell,
Right.
you're always going to make money in real estate.
And I always say, look at the 10-year trajectory.
Oh.
You wish you bought. You wish you bought. You wish you bought. Go back. I mean, we talked about this yesterday, and it's like the most amount of money you'll make is when you do not sell. However, a lot of people don't have that luxury, and not everybody is like you and I that wants to build a real estate portfolio. Many people look at it as, having that many tangible assets is nerve-wracking to them. They don't want to service them. There's a multitude of reasons why people don't always want to build a real estate portfolio. They'd rather put their money in other things. So it's, but those that decide to build a true diversified real estate portfolio, you hold. And that's an amazing technique to building generational wealth. I also see people that sell on the upswing and absolutely kill it. I mean, I remember selling a house not that long ago, maybe like 6 or 7 months ago, to a really big real estate guy, and he was buying it really well. And he said something like, wow, I feel like we're really stealing this. I said, we are. And he said, what do you think I could turn around and flip it for? And I said, well, what do you care? You're not going to sell it right now. And he said, oh, you don't know me. I just thought because he was such a substantial and has such a huge portfolio from hotels to multifamily to residential, I thought, he'll just hold this for at least 10 years or forever. Right. He has children. And he was like, oh, you don't know me. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, I mean, he flips. And he flips before he takes a hammer and pulls out a nail. He flips and makes $10, $20 million. Like, that's kind of the luck that he has because he's put himself on that cycle.
Right.
So if you have the luxury of holding until the cycle rises, and then once you get on the cycle, you're sort of golden.
Praise the Lord and pass the money. Absolutely. Because if you can get where you've got that much cash flow, where you can hold it, you can buy it at a great price. Cash is king. You can go in, like a baller. Then you can hold it and wait until there's just this. And all you need is like this slight upswing.
That's right.
To make a killing, which is so cool that people see that they can do that.
Right.
There's so many ways to make money in real estate, and I think a lot of people don't realize what that is. And it's different for everybody. So let me ask you about, what was your most difficult deal?
Oh, my most difficult deal was actually not that long ago. And I've had, like you, I'm sure, so many difficult deals and difficult personalities and, dealing with, just CEOs and celebrities and the personalities can sometimes really drive the difficult aspect of the deal. But I had a deal with lovely people, principals, but So what happened was it was a $70 million deal.
Oh, my stars.
It was this was not that long ago. This was like a couple of years ago. This was a huge celebrity, and it was an agent in my office. So the agent says to me, he joins my firm. I love this kid, and he's older than me. I call him a kid because he's so beautiful to me. I love his soul. He looks like a kid to me. I don't know. I just see him as like a boy. And he said, I have this client. I said, I have their house. And he's like, they're very specific. I said, I have their house. Because it was this huge public figure, and I felt connected to the figure because I really deeply loved his music. And he's young. But I was like, he's young, but he's old. He's an old soul. Trust me. I have no pictures. Do you have a good relationship with him? Can you get him in the car? He's like, no, he's not going to get in the car. I go, okay, would you trust me? He's like, I do, but I can't get him in the car. I go, get him in the car. So he brings him to this house. Okay, we go down the driveway, and he turns around. It's a down driveway, and it swoops around, and it's in Bel Air. And the guy the musician gets out of the car, and he looks up, and it's so stately and just beautiful and European, and it's all these. It's a mix mash of styles, and it's not a modern box. It's not what you would think this young guy would want. It's just mind-blowing. And he takes like 5 steps into the house, and he looks at his agent, and he goes, how much are they asking? And by the way, his budget was 50. And then his agent looks at me, and I said, 70 million would get it done. You know, I'm like, if I go on the market, I'm probably going to ask 80. And he walks through the house, and he whispers in his agent's ear, I want it. Okay? And I knew he wanted it. I knew it was his house. You know when you just know?
Yeah,
100%.
And
so we get through the deal. Like if you can afford 50, you'd think like, okay, 55, 60, but pushing it to 70, especially when you're under, around 30 years old. But his earning capacity and his contracts and the things that he had lined up, I knew would allow him, if he really chose to invest this deeply in his home. Anyway, there were aspects of the house that were things that he was exactly looking for, such as a swimmer's pool, an indoor pool, things like that. It had a beautiful view of the golf course. It was just the quintessential artist dream. And we get through the deal, and they remove the contingencies. And he has a snafu in his loan. Okay? And he doesn't know because it's all his representatives and my agent. And if he weren't at my firm, I probably wouldn't have been so emotionally invested in it. I would have just said, okay, well, you're going to probably lose your $5 million deposit, but bye. And I'm going to sell it to somebody else. I'm not like that, but
right.
The cards might have crumbled that way because I wasn't in the deal with this other agent.
Right.
And instead, I stayed. I think it took me like 48 hours. I think I only slept a few hours each night I was working around the clock with somebody in Europe with the owner to try to create an opportunity to close it in a seller financing position and to just close it up seamlessly so that nobody even knew that there was an issue. We did, and we closed it up. It was the most stressful, like 48 or 72 hours that I'd ever had, but we got it done. And I learned so much from that. And some of my takeaways were, if it doesn't feel right, like with the lender, especially coming from lending. And, I met the lender. I had him come to my office, and I said to the agent, why are you using this guy? He drove in from Vegas. He was very sweaty. He was he looked nervous. He was like, I don't know if I'm going to close this on time, but I know I'm going to close it. I'm like, there's so many red flags.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I don't know about you, but I think a lot of successful people are people pleasers.
Yeah.
You want to do, and I wanted to do right by all the people involved, but you have your fiduciary to your client, but I'm still really enmeshed in this deal. And I was thinking, there's no way that there's another loan out there that could get this done. So it was a matter of me convincing the seller, but who really wants to carry paper for a $50 million loan?
Right.
It's kind of unheard of, but the power of persuasion is something that comes, you either have it or you don't.
Right.
But then you can also, I think, really kind of sharpen it as we get older in the business. And this was something that I was able to say with conviction, and I got it done. But that was a hard one.
Somebody said to me one time, anybody can sell to people that they know, but the measure of your skill set is measured by someone that you don't know that puts all their trust in you. And I think that you have that in spades. Not only do you have this power of persuasion, but you really have this ability to convey to people that you can get the job done. And just watching you, seeing you, meeting you yesterday and hearing the conviction in which you speak about your passion for real estate, your passion for your company and your agents. That was what moved me so much yesterday when you said, I have 100 agents. I have my own brokerage. And I'm thinking to myself, these are like all of her own children.
They're like my babies.
Yeah, like she knows every single one of these. She knows these deals. And I was so moved by your conviction and your passion and your love for the power that you have. And I think that there's such a fine line between wielding power and using power to help people. And I feel like that you really have that art of using the power that you have to help the people around you.
I thank you for that. I that's one thing that from the very early on, before I even had an assistant, my ethos was always, if you do the right thing will follow. And I was always superstitious. I never calculated the commission. Of course, you could do it in your head if you're good with numbers, so it will pop up in your head. But I never look at that because I think it's so important to do the right thing, whether it's a condo, a land deal, $100 million home. Like, I treat everyone the same. I treat it as if it's my own. And it's the same thing with my agents. My agents, I've handpicked all of them. I have a relationship with all of them. I never recruited. I just sort of was like, if I did a deal with you and it was organic and we spoke and, I said, come see what I'm doing, because I want it to be very personal that way. We all spend a lot of time in our workplace.
Yeah.
And I also want to feel good in my community, and I want to cross the street in Beverly Hills when I go to my coffee shop and see people and say hi. And I want people to say, Rayni really cared about me. She did right by me. I would never want someone to feel that I misguided them.
Right. And it feels like to me that you're not a service provider. You're not simply a real estate agent. You're in relationship with the people that you sell houses to.
Of course. Yes. For
I
sure.
love that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit. Let's get personal.
Okay.
So you've talked a little bit about Branden.
Yes.
So, and you're married to Branden.
Correct.
But you weren't married to start with. So you both started this real estate company.
Yes.
And
well, he tells the story. It's very funny when he tells it, but I'll tell it my version, because we were in our cubicles. I was 25. I was like turning 25 maybe. And he was maybe turning 30. And he was an actor. Most recent career was an actor. Prior to that, he was in fashion. He went to school for fashion. I was a journalist turned lender so we always say real estate is sort of a default business. So you get these cool characters. Everybody's like you know what I mean? It's like, but nowadays, because of the show and everything, people they want to be agents. They want to be realtors, like from the get-go. But,
right.
When I was getting started, people usually had other careers. And even though we were young, we had these other careers. And I was working really hard. I was always the first one in the office and the last one to leave. And I was prospecting and I was doing all the things. And I remember working diligently in my little cubicle. And one day I just kind of looked up, and 2 cubicles up on the other side was this really cute guy. And he had a suit on. And because I was so young when I got in the business, I always wore suits. And I would have a few Chanel jackets that my grandmother gave me. And because I didn't have any money when I got in the business. And I would mix them with, some pieces, or I would thrift shop. I would mix vintage pieces. And I had like one bag that my grandmother had given me. And so I would try to always dress for the part.
Right.
And I tell my agents, dress for the part.
Yeah.
And so he was dressed for the part. And I'm like, who's this? Everybody else in the office, because it's California. It's not, I don't know how it is in Georgia, but like here it's California. People wear flip-flops, jeans.
Oh, yeah.
All the hottest guys in the business when I got in, like the West Side Estate guys who were like running things, they wore jeans and like t-shirt, like white shirts or roll-up shirts. They would wear like casual shoes. Brandon's in a head-to-toe suit. I'm in a head-to-toe suit. And he comes over to my cubicle, and there's a picture of my mother and I, and he was like, oh, I see that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And I was like, is he hitting on me? And I was like, oh. And I was like, well, yeah, you're not too bad yourself, is what he says I said. I don't remember saying that. It's really not in my repertoire, but okay, I said that. So then he's like, well, you don't have to worry about me. I'm gay. And he kind of like shuts it off in his like couture suit. He had like a designer suit on that was like really tight, and fitted. And I told all the girls in the office, that new gay boy, Branden, oh my God, he is so cute. And they were like, Branden Williams? They're like, he is not gay. I was hurt. I'm like, he lied to me. He told me he was gay. I'm like, what's wrong with this guy? And we had that banter forever. We still have that banter. We laugh so hard, day and night. We laugh about deals. We laugh about our kids' stuff. We laugh about everything because he and we're really just cut from the same cloth, but we are so different. If you met him, he's wild. He's bigger than life. He's ethereal. He's out there. And I'm very grounded and like hunkered down and pragmatic. And I kind of like pull him down, but I'm goofy and silly, with people that I know. And he's sort of like air and I'm earth. And we're just like this. And it makes the most amazing yin and yang. But like the important stuff, our ideals are the same. We had the same work ethic. So I would see him in the office every day. And at one point I saw him with flashcards and I thought, oh my God, this kid's studying flashcards? Like he has no business acumen. What is he doing? He's studying because he thinks he can learn this on a flashcard. He was so cute. He was so devoted. He didn't come from that. He's an artist.
Right.
But what he did come from was Beverly Hills. And he had the key to the city. And I thought, I could literally take this guy into politics. I could drive him to the White House. He's so gifted. He just needed a little fine-tuning. I thought I could be his Hillary.
I love it. Oh my gosh, I'm literally dying.
That's how it started.
I cannot wait to meet him.
Oh,
okay.
You're going to love him.
Okay.
He's adorable.
So what does he do? Like what is your role in the business? What is his role in the business?
Well, early on, so how it started was I see this gifted person who knows everybody, who he takes nothing personal. He walks down the street. He goes up to people. He talks. He'd see Larry King on the street and go talk. He doesn't care. He lives his life. He doesn't care who's looking at him. He treats the queen the same as he treats a homeless man outside of Starbucks. He looks people in the eye. He makes you feel special. And I thought he has a lot of qualities that I want. But then again, we had the core that was the same. So he helped me to samurai sword through the BS, especially when you're a woman, from men like, I want to look at houses. Do you want to show me houses? Sure. Bringing my partner here, and Branden and I come. So he would help be my protector in that way. He helped me to cut through to the finish line. He'd be like, Rayni, get to the point with this deal.
Yeah.
Are they real or are they not real? Like, he'd be like, size them up. I'm like, what does that mean? Size them up? He's like, yeah, like size them up. So he taught me that. And I taught him contracts, business-minded responses, crafted thought, more methodical ways of doing things. And he taught me how to get there fast, how to get there first, what's the short, he has a street sense and I had a book smart sense of ability of putting things together, and we put that together, and we both sell, and we both, can kind of drive the deal, but differently. And I think the intrinsic value in the street smarts in real estate is that there's a lot of time that must be wasted to do a deal. There's a certain amount that is required. You have to hold the hand. You have to have the cup. You have to talk to them. You have to get to know them. You have to massage. But then there's a certain amount of time wasting that's unnecessary. So what's that fine line between, okay, I'm not gonna keep doing this with you. Like, do you want to do this or do you not want to do this? And he helped me with that. And I helped him with the other things. So that's how it started. And now we're very seamless. Now it's just, like the other day, I saw him struggling in a negotiation. He must have just been tired. It broke my heart. I thought, oh my God, this poor man. I'm like, give me the phone. Give me the phone. And I told this agent, here's the deal. Like, he's totally full bitch mode. Like, I'm like, I can't watch this anymore.
Right.
This is ridiculous. I'm like, sometimes he's so much nicer than me.
Right. Because he's the people person.
He is.
And you're the analytical.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's that person that when it comes to putting something together from IKEA, he looks at the picture and you're the person who opens up the directions and lays out the parts.
So, you nailed it.
Yeah.
That's it. You're
I'm
astute.
really good at this.
You're very good at this.
Don't try this at home. I am a professional. Okay. So Rayni, so where do you guys live in those Bird Street things?
We live in Truesdale.
In Truesdale.
Yes.
I've been to Truesdale.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the street, but I've been on that thing. It overlooks a canyon or something?
It overlooks the city.
Okay.
On the front part of Truesdale.
Okay.
And so the Bird Streets are here, and then it's the next canyon over.
Right.
It's the hills of Beverly Hills. And it's actually where I started my career. So when I got in the business, it was not really gentrified. It was gentrified. It wasn't turned over the way that it is. It was during the revolution. All the Iranians came with cash because they had to flee. And they couldn't get into the flats. And they were door knocking literally with cash, like, I'll buy, and they took over Truesdale. So it became a predominantly Persian neighborhood. When I got into the business, it was a lot of gilded and a lot of cultural aesthetics that they brought from Iran because that's what they knew and that was pretty to them.
Yeah.
And so that was the stigma of the neighborhood, which that it was a Persian neighborhood, good or bad. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It was just what it was. And so Branden and I were told early on by Saeed Norman, choose your neighborhood. So I'll never forget at an office meeting, Branden looked at me, he goes, did you choose your neighborhood? And I go, yeah, Truesdale. And he looked at me, he goes, the Persian Alps? I go, yeah, the Persian Alps, I guess. Yeah. Why not? I'm like, I think that's a cool name. It is the Alps. Like there is something so chic about it because there's no power lines. There's wide streets. There's gorgeous views. There's a view protection. So your neighbor could only go 14 feet. They're never going to go above you. But in the Bird Streets or in Hollywood or anywhere else in the city, you could build from 32 feet from the highest point. So if that means blocking your neighbor's view, then so be it. But in Truesdale, they're one level mid-century. And this is before Mad Men, the show. This is before like the rage of the mid-century came back. But I've always loved that era. And so anybody that would listen to me, where should we buy? What's the next neighborhood? Truesdale. I started moving all the money in and flushing it out. So and generationally, because I have so many Persian friends and clients, the grandchildren and the children and the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren are all their styles are more Americanized or European or whatever, so they've gone away from, what they knew in their country. And so those that inherited the homes turned over, and then all this flush of diversity and art collectors and celebrities and music people, the neighborhood became one of the most coveted neighborhoods. In fact, the Wall Street Journal did an article on it, saying that Truesdale was one of the top 5 neighborhoods in the world because it's Beverly Hills proper. You shoot down, you're at Sunset, you make a left, you're in West Hollywood, restaurants, clubs, whatever. You go to the right, you're in Rodeo Drive. It's just so chic. And that's where I started.
So think about it. So your first sale, an open house,
Yeah.
somebody walks in and buys it.
Yeah.
And then what have you built the foundation of your business? Pick a neighborhood, farming. Ladies and gentlemen, it's real estate. It's not brain surgery. These are foundational pillars that you can do, that anybody can do.
Yeah.
And here you've picked your neighborhood.
Yeah.
You're in Truesdale. And I would probably say you own that area.
I think I've sold close to $2 billion in just Truesdale. In my career with Branden, we have sold we've sold $15.8 billion of real estate. So when I tell you that there's probably not a house or a street that someone could tell me, whether we go to Cabo for the weekend or something, and we're hanging out in the pool and we meet people and they're like, "Oh, we're from LA. We're from LA too. Where do you live?" "Oh, we live on, La Artura street you're probably not familiar with." I'm like, "Oh, La Artura, of course I know." I've done it so like you. I've done it so long. I've sold so many houses and they all retrade and people retrade and everybody's connected. And that's also very fun.
Yeah, because you know everything and you feel so comfortable. It's almost not even like work. It's like when my son was in fourth grade, they did this whole thing like, what does your dad do? What does your mom do? And on his little sheet, he goes, my mom doesn't work. She talks on the phone and sells houses to her friends. I mean, and in
So cute.
in fourth grade, like, it's so funny. Like, I pushed him through a window at 5 because the key wouldn't work, and I pushed him through a bedroom window, and he goes and unlocks the door.
The door for you.
Yeah. I mean, and my daughter, who's now 32, she's showing a house.
Yeah.
And sure enough, the key won't work. She crawls through a window.
Yeah.
And, she put it on her Instagram, and somebody's like, "Oh my gosh, is that the first window you've ever crawled through?" And Victoria's like, "Glennda Baker's my mother. What do you think?" No,
She said that?
She's pushed me through windows all of my life.
Oh my God, I love that.
And I think that, that's the thing is like, I wanted to be able to go to every Valentine's Day party. I wanted to be able to be like the room mom and the team mom and go to all the soccer games. And I've sold houses to everybody on the soccer team, everybody on the cheerleading team. And I love it. I love it.
And you can. And I tell women that all the time. I'm like, it's such a great profession because you can make sure that you never miss what you don't want to miss.
Right.
You're not going to have every minute, but you're going to have moments. And the moments are what count with children. It's connecting on those deep moments and the deep levels of, okay, great, this is booked out, can't do it, but, you're not going to make everything, but you're going to make what you want.
Okay, so I've got one last question for you. What's next for you? What has like lit a fire in your soul? Like what are you so excited about that you can't wait to experience it? What's next that really just, I mean, I can't even imagine being at a higher place than you are right now. But I know when I talk to somebody like you that you're not done. So like, what is the next greatest thing with Rayni?
Well, I don't know if you know this, but about 10 years ago, we started developing homes, high-end homes. So we've developed exactly 26 homes. From Truesdale to the Bird Streets, I have a $125 million development coming out with famous architect Scott Mitchell in the Hollywood Hills that Branden and I have been developing for 7 years. It took us 7 years. We have one for $60 million that's coming out in Malibu. We have we started developing out of passion, truly. Because we were seeing all of these white boxes and these male developers that, weren't remembering where the hairdryer goes or like, where's the woman's this or let's light that up. Like there was just so many missing elements to make it divine as it should be. And so Branden and I were like, let's get in. So we did. And I don't regret it. I've had so much fun. He's had so much fun. It's been creative. It's been wonderful. And we have an interior design arm. We have a development arm. And last year we started, toying with making some furniture, and that was fun. And where do we go? Like, where do we go from here? There's so many things that I'm passionate about. But right now, I just feel like I got to the top of the mountain. So if it makes sense, and it maybe doesn't for you, because I've been climbing for so many years, and I'm a little bit tired now, and I've kind of gotten there, and now I have all my agents too that are like, I'm watching them climb up. So I'm kind of just like standing up at the top, looking down and just breathing for the first time in my life. And it's emotional in a lot of ways because I'm like, wow, like, I'm like this little girl from the East Coast that came here and like did these things and met the love of my life and had children and created all of these things. And I've gotten to travel and it's emotional because like I'm at a crossroads in a way. Like I could keep going and keep climbing, or I could kind of like enjoy where I am. And lately I've just been feeling like I'm super grateful, and I kind of just want to enjoy being right here and looking down and extending my hand out and pulling up these agents like one by one and helping them to get to where I am, instead of doing this on the hamster wheel with like me and like 4 people that we compete against, because that's really how thin it is up there. And still be up there and still sell and still do what I do, and maybe or maybe not develop any more houses, just kind of get rid of what we have. And I think my next calling is to help build these agents up.
I love it. I think what I love the most is you're enjoying the view from the top. This week, a reporter asked Simone Biles, like, what's next after the gold medal? And she said, can I just enjoy the gold medal for a minute?
Her. Yeah.
And I think that we're in this business that's uber competitive. And we're always thinking about, what's next? Like, what's the next thing that we can conquer? And I love that you're taking a moment to appreciate all of the hard work that you've put in, and enjoying the view from the top.
It's hard to do that because for people like us, if you're uber competitive and to get to where we are, and you very rarely can do that. But I think that it's been a lot of work that I've had to do internally to get to this place and to kind of realize, because if you would have asked me that maybe a year ago, I wouldn't have had the same answer.
Right.
But I've just recently, with traveling and kind of like looking at life, having some loss, having, looking at time and space and understanding that it's the only thing that we're running out of, except for collagen.
We should never run out of collagen.
May we never.
Ever. Rayni, I am so honored that you spent your time with me today in person.
Likewise.
It's so cool. When people are looking for you, where's the best place for people to find you?
Instagram at Williams and Williams. So that's Branden Williams and I, at Williams and Williams, spelled out A-N-D. And then my company is at the Beverly Hills Estates. Both of those have all of our properties. The Beverly Hills Estates has all of my agents and their properties mixed with Williams and Williams. So I'm Williams and Williams. The Beverly Hills Estates is my firm, and either one of those.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to have had the opportunity to sit down with you.
Likewise.
So
thank you so much. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I always say, my name is Glennda Baker. I am a real estate agent in Atlanta, Georgia. Send me a text, tag me in a post, give me a call. That's what I love the most, because I'd love the opportunity to talk real estate with you today. See ya.